Right then, very good evening. It's wonderful to be here at TEDxJESS. My name, as they said, is Richard Dean. I present the Business Breakfast radio program on Dubai Eye 103.8. And I have to say, presenting a TED Talk as a public speaker is something that I've always wanted to do. Let me just check this microphone's working. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah, it's okay. A few thank yous, really, first of all. And firstly to Vanessa North, who helped to organise this event. I really appreciate it. It's such an honour for me. The principal here at JESS as well. So have been
Game over. Game over.
As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted. But now, joking apart, it wasn't rude of her to interrupt me, because what I was doing was wasting your time. And when you're a public speaker, to waste the time of your audience is a crime. And the reason I know this is because a great public speaker gave me that advice recently here in Dubai. It's this guy. Anyone recognize him? Okay, he's a guy called Tim Harford, and he's one of those, business guru public speakers. And he was in Dubai giving one of his business guru speeches. And I looked at him. He writes the undercover Economist books, and he gets paid about $40,000 for a 1 hour speech. $40,000 for a 1 hour speech. And I was the MC that day, and he was a keynote speaker, and he paid a lot more than me. And I thought, I want a bit of that. And he's a nice bloke, Tim. And I've worked with him a couple of times. So I asked him, I said, Tim, what's the one bit of advice, and I'm writing a book about this stuff, what's the one bit of advice you'd give people like me who want to be where you are, earning $40,000 an hour? And he told me, to be fair to him. And what he said, the one piece of advice he gave me was about time. And he said it's all about the first 20 seconds. This is what he had to say.
What people do with that first 20 seconds, when they have the complete attention of the audience, they fumble around for their slide clicker, they take some notes out of their pocket, they tap the microphone, they say, is this thing on? Then they mutter through some pleasantries, well, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. All of this is just losing time that you could be spending with this moment of maximum spotlight making a real impact.
Moment of maximum spotlight, making a real impact. And of course, I did the exact opposite. So that's what not to do, okay? You know not to do that. How do we open a presentation? How do we use those precious first 20 seconds that are going to earn us $40,000 for a 1 hour speech? Well, this is what Tim had to say.
So the faster that you can get into your first joke or your first story or your first declaration of intent, the better it's going to be.
Right, okay. The faster you can get in, better it's going to be. First 20-second count. So I'm going to try that again, okay? I'm going to try and open my speech once again. Let's reset. 15 minutes in, let's reset. Costa has very kindly agreed to be the timekeeper. Stand up, please, Costa. What I'm going to do, taking Tim's advice, I'm going to try and give you the best 20 seconds of your life and get this speech really up and running. Okay, Costa, are we ready?
We are ready.
Okay, give me a 3, 2, 1, go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Here we go. Back in 1968, the average TV soundbite was 43 seconds. 1988, it was 9 seconds, and today it's as short as 2 seconds. The lesson is you've got to be quick to be heard. And today, I'm going to tell you how to plunder the playbook of the great public speakers to make sure you don't waste the time of your audience. Stop.
Stop.
How did I do?
22:71.
Okay, epic fail, but 22 seconds isn't bad. Costa, thanks very much indeed for that. Really appreciate your help. I'm not saying it was the best opening to a speech ever, but you get my point. I took Tim's advice, I plundered his playbook, and learned how to do it better. And that's essentially what we should do, because the difference between boring your audience and giving them a good time is just craft, and it's taking the time to learn the skills. The great public speakers have given away their advice. It's all out there. But things are changing. Time is compressed. We have less time to communicate. And I was thinking about, why is this? What's changed? What's happened? And I think it's three things, and I call them the 3 T's. And the first one is television. The incredible shrinking television soundbite. The second one, and Samiha alluded to this, is Twitter or social media. 140 characters. Snapchat disappears in a heartbeat. And the third one is this, TED, speeches that can only be 18 minutes long. And it's with us. We can like it, we can not like it, but the fact is we've got to deal with it. The question is how? Well, 3 things really. The first is you've got to have one message, and only one message, when you're giving a presentation or any kind of communication. Second thing is you've got to have strong content. Stands to reason, you would say. I go to 50 conferences a year, believe me. Common sense is not common practice. And the third one is punchy delivery. Let's look at those in a bit more detail each. First one is have one and only one message. If you confuse your message, no one's going to be able to hear you. Steve Jobs was the master of this. It's nearly 10 years, can you believe, since he launched the iPhone. And when he did, 2-hour presentation on stage in California, built around 5 words, one message. Today, Apple reinvents the phone. Everything in that launch was built around those 5 words. Today, Apple reinvents the phone. The press release that day, it was the headline. The slides on his speech, that was the punchline. Then in the media interviews afterwards, and then of course the headlines that the media picked up, Google today, Apple reinvents the phone. Believe me, that was a phrase that stuck. And you see people doing something similar now. Elon Musk, who I guess is the natural heir as the technology guru of our times, he had a big keynote about 8 months ago when he launched his Powerwall batteries. The missing piece, 3 words. He built his entire presentation around these 3 words, the missing piece. So it's all well and good saying we need to have one punchy message. How do we do it? It's not easy, okay? To be concise is not easy. We all know that quote, don't we? Is it Mark Twain, sometimes attributed to, I'm sorry I wrote such a long letter, I didn't have time to write a short one. It's difficult to be concise, it takes time. But there are tools. You can plunder the playbook of the great speakers. Nancy Duarte is one of them, okay? She came up with this methodology. Google Nancy Duarte, one main idea, and you'll get this. What she says is, for a main message, you need 2 things. You need a unique point of view on the subject and what's at stake, and then write that in a sentence. And I'll give you an example. Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. Who's seen that movie? Yeah, about global warming. Lots of us have. You can agree or disagree with the science, but it's a masterpiece of public speaking. It won a damn Oscar, and it's a PowerPoint presentation. It's that good. Nancy Duarte, a designer in California, designed the PowerPoint and the main message. Now, here's what it says. The unique point of view is this. Al Gore says, global warming is real and man-made. You can disagree with that, and some people do. They don't think global warming is real and man-made, but that's his point of view. And then he says what's at stake. If we do not act now, the effects will be cataclysmic. Okay, that's the impact. You put all that into a sentence, and you've got your main message. There are other ways to construct one simple message. The point is one simple message. Dwight D Eisenhower, the US general and president, had a great technique for doing this. I'm not going to attempt the accent. But he said, if I can't write the main message of my presentation down on the inside of a matchbox, it's too long. So I have a matchbox. I bought one today, and I wrote my message down on it. And it says, you've got to be quick to be heard, plunder the playbook of the great public speakers. See, there it is. Some crossings out and scribblings. It's not particularly elegant, but it's good discipline. It forces you to do it. Now, I know what's going to be happening. Samiha's parents and everyone's parents are going to be saying, this is dumbing down. It's not like it was in our day. The media is dumbed down. Social media is dumbing down. Soundbite politics is dominating everything. Well, the good news, Samiha, is your parents are wrong. Okay? And I'll tell you why the parents are wrong. For 2 reasons. One is that a guy called Daniel Hallin, he's an academic in the US, and he's the guy who wrote the study on the incredible shrinking soundbite. Okay? And he says, this idea that there was a golden age of television news in the 1960s and 70s, absolute nonsense. It was long, it was rambling. Politicians were allowed 1 minute, 2 minutes to ramble on with their boring ideas. Now we've got good journalists, they edit, they're concise. On The Daily Show, formerly with Jon Stewart, now with Trevor Noah, 2 or 3 seconds is your average soundbite. That's how long you've got. You've got to be good. You've got to be quick to be heard. It forces you to have discipline. But also, Samiha, what you can tell to your parents is that this has been around a while. This is timeless advice. This is a memo, a British government memo to staff telling them to hurry up when writing presentations, okay? It says here, I'm going to read it for you. This is a memo about writing presentations from the Prime Minister. To do our work, we all have to read lots of papers. Nearly all of them are too long. This wastes time, okay? This is not written 3 years ago by some social media consultancy. This was written in August 1940 during the Second World War, and it was written from the Prime Minister's office, and it's signed WSC, Winston Churchill. So you can tell your parents, Samiha, that Snapchat's absolutely cool. Winston Churchill would have loved it. Right, second, strong content. Back to Al Gore again, because An Inconvenient Truth is a masterpiece in great content. And essentially, what you need in great content is you need a balance. Yes, you need the statistics and the logical argument and all the clever stuff, but you also need some emotional content as well. You need some stories. And What an inconvenient truth does really well is it balances that. Lots of stats and scientific research and quoting this research study and this boffin here. It's all there. The stats are all there in an inconvenient truth. But also the heart-tugging stories of the melting ice caps and the polar bears who have got nowhere to live. You need both. One without the other is no good. And again, it's nothing new. This guy's Aristotle. He lived 2,500 years ago. He wrote a book called On Rhetoric, and it was spot on. Okay? He says you need three things to give a good presentation or any kind of communication, and they are ethos, logos, and pathos. Anyone know what they are? Yes, please. Yes, you don't have to, but you know. Congratulations, I'll take you on your word. Ethos is the credibility of the speaker. You've got to have credibility. I'm talking to you about public speaking. I'm an experienced communicator. Fine. If I was talking to you about engineering, you'd all go and have some more cupcakes. Logos is logical argument. Pathos is emotional argument. One without the other. Too much logos and logic, boring. If all you've got is stories, it's fluffy and superficial, and no one will believe you. But this is timeless advice. Timeless advice. Tell stories. Like the great novelists, like Harry Potter. I'm going to give you an example now. Mother Teresa, who lived in Calcutta until about 20 years ago, did enormous work for poor people in India and indeed across the world. And there's a phrase in communication and public speaking called the Mother Teresa effect, because she said this. She said, if I see the mass, I do nothing. But if I see an individual, I will act. This idea that we get sanitized for these stories of 8 million people starving in somewhere means nothing to us. But a story, a picture of one individual, that moves us to act. So some academics at Carnegie Mellon University in the United States wanted to test this. They said, okay, it's a nice soundbite. Does it really work? So what they did is they gave a bunch of people $5, and then as they were leaving the room, 2 different exits. And one of the people, one of the groups who left, they got a letter saying, please will you give to Save the Children, which is doing great work for children in Africa who are in trouble. And it gave statistics. It said the maize crop in Zanzibar, in Zambia was down 42%. And there are 3 million children starving in Malawi. And 11 million people in Ethiopia need food aid now. That was one group. And the other group didn't get the statistics. They got a story. And it said, if you make a donation today, it will help Rokia. Rokia is a 7-year-old girl. She lives in Malawi. She's from a very, very poor family, and she is facing starvation. If you can give now, you can help give Rokia and her family a better life. And they thought, well, who's going to give more? Well, I tell you, the guys who saw the statistics were generous. Okay, they gave $1.14. Remember, all they had was $5. They gave more than 20%. But what about the people who read the story? And I think you know where this is going, don't you? Okay. $2.38. Stories are powerful. You need both. You need the statistics. But if you've got an audience that are short on time, tell them a heart-tugging story. It's incredibly powerful. So that's content with words. A quick word now on content with pictures, because slides are really, really important, and it's something that people get wrong all the time, particularly in business. We use a phrase, a kind of glib phrase in communication world, called death by PowerPoint. Okay, sending people to, boring them to death with PowerPoint. But actually it had a very, very literal sense about 12, 13 years ago. This is the Space Shuttle Columbia taking off in January 2003 in Florida. 86 seconds later, a bit of this broke off, hit the wing here, and caused some damage. 2 weeks later, Columbia had a perfectly normal flight. 2 weeks later, re-entering with the Earth's atmosphere, that damage proved fatal. Columbia broke up, shattered into pieces, and 7 astronauts lost their lives. The question was, could they have been saved? Probably, apart from a really bad PowerPoint slide. Because here was the thing, that the researchers saw this straight away on the videos. 86 seconds, they knew the damage had happened. They knew there was a big hole in the wing. They thought, well, can we repair this? And the kind of mid-level scientists said, probably not. Probably can't repair it. They can't go to the International Space Station because they're in the wrong orbit. But we can send a space shuttle to rescue them. The space shuttle Atlantis was ready for action. It could have been launched within 30 days. And the astronauts on Columbia had 30 days of fuel. They could have launched Atlantis within 25 days. Okay? So they prepared a PowerPoint slide to show to their bosses to say, this is the situation. It's really, really bad, but we think we've got a solution. And this isn't quite the slide, but it's a kind of representation of the slide. It was 19 lines of PowerPoint. And Anyone could spot the warning that the space shuttle is about to crash in this? Is it clear and obvious? No, apparently this is it. I'm not a rocket scientist. Flight condition is significantly outside the test database. The point was, the bosses at NASA didn't see it, okay? It was buried in lines 18 and 19 of a PowerPoint presentation, so they didn't act. The investigation afterwards said that it's very easy to understand how a boss at NASA wouldn't have understood the severity of the situation. They didn't act, and the shuttle was lost. Could it have been saved apart from bad PowerPoint? Possibly. Now, the guy who led the investigation into the bad PowerPoint was a guy called Edward Tufte. He's a professor in America, and he launched what he called a war on chart junk. He says, all this rubbish in charts and the bullet points that make it really, really difficult to read, get rid of it. It's chart junk. We've got to be clean and simple. And this is so true if you want to be heard when people haven't got time to listen. Now, very quickly, a word on delivery. I can no more stand up here and teach you how to deliver a great presentation than I can teach you how to swim or play the piano like Paul did or sing like Howard did. Not possible in a classroom. But what I can do is just drive home to you the importance, if you're communicating to an audience, of being energetic. Whatever you want to do, whether you're selling to them, whether you want them to donate to your charity, whether you want them to vote for you, energy is all important, okay? No one's there injecting them with 10,000 volts. That is your job. I implore you to do it in the first 20 seconds, and then you can be heard even when people don't have much time. And with that, finally, my game really is over. Thank you.